Welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things.
No, and like I was locked in right away.
The pre-review with Super Gummy Guru.
Pre-review.
And me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Welcome to The Real Study. This is Season 1, Episode 11. And tonight we are going to go over 3 more films as usual. We've got all the movie things with us, Black Girl Marvel and Mr. Marvelite. And tonight we have a special guest. I'll move us over to the drive-in. Where is he? Where is he coming? There he is. And we have Watch with Mike, who will be joining us this evening. And he has a TikTok that he has been growing leaps and bounds. And we would love to hear about your TikTok, Mike, if you could. All right. And I agree. That's one of the things that drew us to you. So, yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, you of course. No, we love having people on the show. They can't hear him.
Oh, Ray can't. So, Muncie, can you hear Mike?
Let's try that again. This is Watch with Mike from TikTok. He's going to go ahead and tell you about his TikToks that he does. And we're going to kill it because he had a great line and we ruined it. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I did not say this before, but I would talk about television on TikTok. Sometimes I'm serious, sometimes I'm funny, and sometimes I'm both in one. Come check it out. That was off the cuff.
Which we heard. That's how you do a lot of your stuff, right? You don't do a lot of writing. You do a lot of off the cuff. Is that right?
That's true. Sometimes it comes and bites me in the you-know-what, but it's
Right.
often very off the cuff. And then sometimes I try to research and it doesn't work out so well either. So
All right.
whatever the
That's
vibe
fair.
is that day.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, we are here to talk about movies. That's what we do here at The Real Study. We talk about movies every week. And this week, we are talking about Love, Simon, The Edge of 17, which was Mike's pick, and then The Way, Way Back. I believe Love, Simon was Miraculous Muncie's pick. And he is here in the chat, so we get to get down to the movie you picked, Muncie, which is always fun to remember. I agree. This was a solid week. We always have a naysayer. You guys will figure out who that is as we go. It's just like a rule. I don't know how it happens, but with the 4 of us, we always find somebody.
Yeah, we draw straws ahead of time. And
We do.
All right.
You're going to hate these movies.
You're going to hate these movies. Yeah.
So we'll get to that. Hello, Biggie. Hello, Ray. Hello, Muncie. Hello, all who have joined and are not willing to chat because we don't want to call you out. Thank you for being here. And why don't we get right into it? We're going to start with Love, Simon. This film is a coming-of-age tale about a boy who is gay and has not come out of the closet, and he is navigating high school life in that way. Pretty simple plot in that way, but I think the movies we're doing tonight are simple on their face, but more complex as we dig into them. So this will be fun. Mike, what do you think of Love, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, I did not realize I would be going first. I clearly drew that short stick. I thought it was, I think it's really good. I saw this one in theaters actually. And it was, you could hear like the sniffles in the entire crowd as people were watching. I think it really impacted people in a lot of ways. I'm not going to be the naysayer. This is like my quick thing. But I do like almost wish like we could get the movie after this movie sometimes. I feel like a lot of movies that would get like this, it's this story of secrecy. And so that's me being prescriptive with this type of movie, which I shouldn't be because it's not what the movie wanted to be, obviously. But whenever I finish the movie, I've always been like, oh, I wish we could get like the silly rom-com that we always get with these types of stories.
So you want it to be like Simon and Brom go to Tahiti? I mean,
why not like the silly rom-com plots we always get with any gay couple that's like, he has a high-powered boss and he relaxes too
Yeah.
much,
Yeah. Or
That's
he
just
wants to start a fashion thing or something.
right.
Yeah.
A fashion blog.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. But for what it was, I thought actually it was very accessible, strangely like easy to watch, quite funny, quite charming. I enjoyed it.
All right. Black Girl Marvel, what did you think of Love, Simon?
I did not expect to go second, but I guess
You might be called on tonight, guys. Just putting it out there.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're doing
I wasn't
a
expecting
podcast.
to be here today.
Yeah.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I've never seen Love Simon before, so this is my first watch. I did want to see it because I like Nick Robinson. He's the lead. I like Nick Robinson because he was on that Freeform TV show with Melissa Joan Hart and Joey Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed with that show. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I was obsessed with that show. And he grew up on that show. And I remember he left. And I was like, oh, he doing a movie. It's called Love Simon. So it's like a whole full circle thing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. They didn't like jump into a lot of tropey things that they do with gay characters.
Mhm.
Especially like with the parents, right? Because his father was very sensitive, but his father was also like an alpha male. He made weird jokes, like unnecessary jokes, and the fact that his father, spoiler alert, the fact that his father is able to be like, I still love you, like please just be yourself. Like I thought that was a great change up from like, this isn't my son, and like just storming off somewhere, I love that change up. Jennifer Garner for me always hits when she's a mom. I don't know why. Like
You think she's always been a mom?
And she's talking to him, and she's like, "You can breathe now." I feel like she's always been a mom.
Even
like,
when she was
always.
Electra,
And I feel
she was
like
like a mom to me.
when she told him he could finally, yeah, she was like a mom to me.
Right.
Like really, I felt it. Did you feel it? Oh, come on, you get it.
Yeah,
Especially when she died, it
like
came
my
back on.
mom.
That's exactly how my mom does things. Exactly. Like what? But when they were talking in the living room, and she was like, "You can finally exhale now." Like I busted out crying. The tears were flowing, man. You could fill a cup up with my tears. Like it was like flowing, and it was just like great to see that. It was great to see like his transition from kind of very tightly wound to kind of like, I guess like overly being, aggressive because he's been holding this in for a lot and snapping at his sister, and then like doing the things that he was doing to his friends, which is very out of character for him. Like, so to see that transition of him just trying to like be himself, like it was great. I haven't watched a lot of teen movies a lot as of late, so going back to like a One Tree Hillish type of lane that I used to be in when I was younger, it was nice to kind of like revisit that. I will say the only thing that kind of like I was like, is that like his friends getting mad is, I understood that, but I didn't understand how they stayed mad. He explained like I was being blackmailed, and he was being blackmailed with something that's very personal
about that too
to him, and I had just an uneasy feeling with him being like, well, fine, but still, like, how could you do? Like, I didn't like. Okay, he pimped you out, but he really didn't at the same time. It's like
the third friend
he put
was
you
a
in a way
little,
to make a friend, and then sorry you didn't date this boy. You
the choice is still
friend,
up to her.
You didn't date this guy immediately. Okay, but
right.
like it's still up to you. Like I didn't force you to like
you have to date this
like
guy.
you gotta do this. But I was being blackmailed. Like nobody knows how to move in that space. So that was the only thing that I was just like, come on. But other than that, I thought the film was great.
Awesome. Mr. Marmalade, what do you think of Love, Simon?
I thought the film was great. So.
I hate teenage dramas. I'm going to be very honest with you. So if I'm going to be a naysayer, it's going to be about that. The film overall was very good. I promise you, though, there were many times where I had my AirPod in while I was watching it on my iPad, and I had to walk out of the room, and I was still listening. But those moments, like at the stadium during homecoming, things like that, I cannot take drama where I know that they're about to like everything is just about to fall apart. The House of Cards thing. I don't mind
Do you get
I
secondhand
get
embarrassment?
oh,
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm like
say.
right there with that person. To the point of where I have never even finished watching 27 Dresses. Like
Really?
even that movie like causes a drama.
Man.
Which dress did you get to? Like,
Yeah,
No,
what
it wasn't.
dress
It
did
wasn't the
you-
dress. It was the party where they had that power that would slide, whatever it was, and I knew what was going to happen. I've never seen that scene other than like obviously she was going to do something mean. I got up and walked out. Like my family know, like if I'm watching a movie with them and I get up and walk out of the room, just keep watching because it's yeah. But I mean, regardless, I will say I will disagree a little bit. I think of the three characters, the friends that Simon kind of like lied to. I understand Abby being more offended than the rest of them. She's the one that
right.
um, tried to put
Mhm.
on this good front this whole
Mhm.
time. She was the one that came from a divorced family. She was trying to show that she was put together a lot more than she was. Basically, she had a secret too, and which was why it was so easy for Simon to come out to her first before anybody else. Because I think they
Mhm.
had a little bit more of a relating because regardless of sexual orientation in this film, a big line of, you know, having secrets can sometimes be something that consumes you, and um, having people that are supportive to be able to come out to speak to be able to speak your truth is vital. And I'm looking at this as an old dude, and like this that Creek website, the blog, and
Yeah.
like that I would
Mhm.
I don't know how I would have handled high school if that kind of stuff was going on.
Oh, it's worse now than even
And
5 years ago.
for I know, and to imagine what young people go through,
Hmm.
you know, is it important, regardless of what you believe about any of this stuff? Um, Everyone should have a safe place to speak their truth and to be who they are, and I thought, and
Mhm.
even at the end when he's on the Ferris wheel, I felt like even though they were being supportive, it was really oppressive to what he was trying to do. Because if they knew that Blue was hesitant and afraid of coming out in front of people, let's have the whole school stand at the thing,
Right.
cheering him
Let's
Yes.
on
have
and
a
Why would y'all
almost
all
close
be
show
to
here.
there?
mocking
Right.
and filming
Right.
him. Like that was the most unrealistic part of the whole thing, because if Blue was like struggling with it, I don't really think that that would have been a circumstance that he would have been comfortable coming out at. So,
Right.
I mean,
It was a
otherwise,
big risk.
I think the great was, yeah, the film was great. And by the way, Mike, you said, you know, you wish there was something beyond this. There is a Hulu series called Love, Victor, which is another teenager from that school.
Mm.
And Nick Robinson actually reprises his role for, I think, at least 13 episodes. I haven't seen it. I just looked it up. So
Mm.
it's kind of like the continuation of what's going on. So it seems interesting. It looks like a couple of the actors do come back for that, and you know, I don't know anything else. I do have to say, I have seen Jennifer Gardner be in some movies recently. And I was thinking of Babysitter, where she played the mom as well. No, that wasn't her. No, that wasn't her. No, I think the only thing I've been really
Mhm.
disappointed with her was with Electra.
Mhm.
But but it was good to see her in this role. I think she definitely played a very supportive character. She let Simon, you know, come to her in his timing. You know, I think a lot of times when a situation like this happens, you know, I think parents push too hard. And I think
Hmm.
for, you know, any young person that's listening, you know, as you have kids and you have a family, um, be available to your children, especially because, you know, we're living in a very different day and time, and we can't expect, you know, our kids to be comfortable in their own skin if we can't even be willing to, you know, hear, you know, the difficult conversations. And I just remember growing up, my mom always made it a point to have those difficult conversations with me to make sure that I was okay. And if anything, you learn from this. Maybe you don't relate to the story, but there are things that you can learn from this on how you approach people. So I took up way too much time. So sorry.
That's not a naysay though. So anyway, I understand about the
It's a
genre,
teen
but
drama.
that was a
Nay, nay.
beautifully
Yeah,
No,
exactly. That is
that was
it
praise.
is.
I
That's
liked it.
really not a
I liked
naysay.
it.
Really
Yeah.
it really not. Yeah.
All the movie
Can I
things.
say one thing on Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Marmalade point though? About yeah, yeah, let me just say one thing. About Abby and Simon kind of like being like he told her because he was like their situations are like similar, they were relatable. I honestly think
Well,
he
he says
told
that
her.
in the
He kind of
movie.
said it,
Like,
but
yeah.
I kind of caught that when he told her. I felt like he told her. Yeah, he says in the movie, but I feel like he actually told her because like
Exactly.
she didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that's harsh to say.
It
That's
was
a
easier
harsh
for him to tell her
He
because
line
there
to
wasn't
say.
much.
months versus,
Yeah, there wasn't
Yeah,
much history.
he didn't have the hots for her.
But
She was new.
because
Yeah.
Right, because if she, you know, and if she denied him, it's gonna be like, all right, we were only friends for 6 months anyway, as opposed to a friend that I had for like 10 years.
It's no different than him telling Blue.
It's
like the next step.
Rejects me because of this.
Right. I agree.
It's just another level of pressure to really.
The next step is like
once you tell someone that's actually important in his life, then it becomes real. Like it's an actual
exactly.
part of his life. Like he has that fantasy of like going to college and cutting off literally everyone he's ever known or something like that, right? Because then it would be easier.
And he does talk about that. He talks about how he could run off, right?
Yeah.
I love some of those cut scenes. Anyway, all the movie things. What was your impression of Love, Simon?
So this is my first watch of this movie, and I was always like, it was another one of those movies that I should have watched a long time ago, like when it first came out. But yeah, I really love this movie. I was right there, like totally agree with Lala when he's finally having those one-on-one conversations with his mom and then with his dad, and like I had this thing too where I was like, I was right there emotionally, but I was like really wanting like just someone give him a damn hug, please, someone hug him at least, just give him a hug. And like his mom didn't do it again, I was like, oh. But then when his dad like hugged him, that's when I was like, oh geez, okay, yeah, that's when the waterworks came from. I know, I was like,
and he kissed him too.
Finally,
I was
like, ugh. You could like let it go, but it was somebody
touch him.
He needs it. Yeah, so it was great. Like that was a pretty cathartic moment. Yeah, I love a lot of different things in here. Like, the one thing that stood out to me too was like he was imagining like if heterosexuals had to come out to their
Mom,
parents.
Dad, I'm straight.
That was a great bit.
The whole sequence is so good. It's like Lord Jesus.
I like how the one dad was choking on his chips.
Yeah, he's like, you get this from your dad's side. Like,
that was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was good stuff.
There's some really good stuff in there. Like, and the whole like musical sequence, the dance number and everything. I was like, so this is kind of, I was like, it kind of hit me a little personally because I was like, I grew up like, I had like a biggest crush on Whitney Houston when I was a kid, and when they started blasting like that song, I was like, oh man, I mean, I love Whitney Houston, but I'm not. Does that mean I'm like, I was like, what does that mean about me? But so it's just a funny personal thing. I was like, oh man, yeah, what the heck?
Thinking about his life.
But yeah, that was a great. Like it. There wasn't a lot of stereotypes either. Like I really liked that. Like
there was one.
Was like. Well,
they did cabaret for the freaking.
So there wasn't like a lot.
But I mean, all the kids that came out, they were all like part of cabaret, and like, oh, I'm really excited I got to be a part of cabaret. That was kind of the end where they started showing that multiple kids were coming out, and I think the whole school was repressed, and I think that principal is a very key reason as to why that school was repressed. I mean, he was showing signs of homophobia all over the place and throwing it around, especially when he had the kids apologize. The vice principal, yeah. He
was a lot. He was a lot though. He was too much. It was like you wanted to be so inclusive to the kids that you were doing it in the wrong way. He was like, it was giving the energy of like, I got black friends or I got gay.
Right.
It was giving like that energy for me.
But even when he made the kids apologize, he was like, oh, you guys are dating.
Until he meant it in a loving way.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
He said that kids were dating because they were both gay. I don't know.
That
drama teacher though.
The drama teacher is the winner. She's the
Michael
goat.
Scott vibes. Like Michael.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's still.
Bad. He just goes about it in the wrong way.
It wasn't a nurturing environment. It was not the kind of environment that allowed him to any of these kids to feel comfortable with being who they were.
Yeah.
The whole school was just kind of repressed in that way. It seemed.
The one kid that like outed him though was
Martin,
part of cabaret also. So I don't. And he wasn't coming out.
Martin is a whole nother discussion, and he's like the embodiment of the person who's going to.
I'm just saying to your point.
That was my favorite scene.
It's not all like the whole thing is not like stereotype, because you got to see different representations of what being a homosexual is. You can still, like, Simon, wasn't this flamboyant, stereotyped,
right,
representation of it.
he
But
was
then
the
you did have
American
like
kid next door.
other spectrums of it.
Right.
Yeah, you had all these other spectrums, which I think was important to show. So,
well,
agreed.
Martin, if you consider it, Martin is kind of the guy who he had this information and it didn't mean anything for him either way. It was because, like he says, he's a family member who's gay. He was using that information to his benefit, but he didn't understand the impact that it put on Simon and then what it would cause when he brought it out. He was looking at something to deflect himself, and he's a jerk. And mind you, I'm going to go back and watch Escape Room and hope that guy dies every time, even though I know he doesn't. Logan Miller is the perfect jerk. I felt like he was really just trying to find help, but that was the only way he thought he could get it. And that was the problem in it, because he did not understand the impact that he was causing. Well, because not only did he make Simon do what he didn't want to do, but he also put Simon in a position where he violated his friends and then ultimately destroyed, Simon's ability to speak his truth on his own terms.
And I think that is the message of this film, is that nobody has a right to take that away from somebody. You've got to be able to speak your truth on your level, at your speed, when you're ready. And if that's never, then that's never. And people have that right. That was the part that I think sent this movie over the top from being just a fun, good movie to, this is saying something serious.
Is when Simon went off on
also,
him.
I love the
when Simon went off on him, that was
I also loved how right after he came out, like he's Google searching, how do gay guys dress? And he's trying all of these different styles, and then he realizes he is a gay guy and he just needs to dress like himself.
Yeah.
And I think that was important, because I think that was a stereotype that was like trying to be expelled there. And then as well, because he wasn't comfortable talking to Abby about other guys. Right. So it was kind of like, he was being pushed, and then he just, came to terms with himself.
Yeah.
There's a Bats McSkelly in the chat.
I feel like if you've lived your life a certain way, I feel like if you live your life in a certain way, and then you're like, okay, I've let out this part of me that nobody's gotten to see, because you've seen him throughout the film, like look at guys, kind of go up and
like
start
in the
a conversation with guys,
that
like
was pretty,
slowly easing into that, but he's been doing these things by himself, so he doesn't have, like, it's normal for like very straight people or even gay people that's been out since they were like kids to have those conversations, because you always talk to another person about another person. I'm always talking to my friends about, I met this guy, or I think this guy is cute, and things like that. He's never had that outlet. So I don't feel like they were pushing him. I just felt like she was, and if she was pushing him, I think she was pushing him for a good reason, because it's something that he has to learn how to be comfortable in doing. So even though he wasn't that comfortable with Abby,
and maybe also
Leah asked him,
not using the same language, or
she asked him,
that she was using,
Right, and I use the same language. Like, I don't have to speak like you. Like let me say the things that I like, my normal speech, my normal way of talking. And so when he's talking to Leah, she's like, "Yeah, just tell me about it." So the hetero Simon can die in my head. That part was funny to me.
Right.
Because I get that. It's like, let me kill this version of you that I had in my head. Let me get this new version. Let me get the right version.
Yeah.
But yeah. Mr. Snippets, what did you think about the movie? Did you say?
Okay, I kind of jumped in. I didn't know what to think at first. I kind of felt like, typical teen drama. This is leading nowhere. And then it started to build a mystery. And this movie's more of a mystery than the other two films. And there's kind of a like, who is it? Who is it? Who's blue? Who's blue? And I started to get kind of caught up in that. Because then I started guessing, much like any mystery movie you would watch. You're like, there are clues here. They've led clues. And it was kind of fun. It wasn't a big reveal.
I guessed correctly, though. I was right.
Right. To me, it wasn't like woo, but it was still like neat. I mean, that's cool. And I'm glad it was him. But we got clues about him being the blue character at one point, because Martin even talks about him being bluish at one point, and makes the joke, even though it's only about somebody else. We as the audience knew that he was talking about blue, because he's the only one that knew. So I don't know. I thought it was constructed well.
Flash.
I enjoyed
like
that it was constructed the way it was, the way we wove through the story. Yeah, it was fun. And then once it hit the big messages, when it's a big message, I fall right in. So, yeah, I liked it quite a bit. You were going to
I
say,
like
Mr.
how
Marley.
Blue. I like how Blue every time he thought it was somebody, that person was the one that was typing.
It
It like
changed.
changed.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of gave that like
Yeah.
it was this over evolving like idea of who it was.
So, Mike, any
I like
more
that too.
thoughts about Love, Simon, that you'd like to throw at us?
I wonder. I don't think anyone's going to be able to answer this question, but I wonder how it measures up to the book, because I know it's adapted from a novel. I don't know if anyone actually, even in the chat, if I can get interactive, anyone's read the novel, if it's like a good adaptation of that, or how they like did the secrecy of it there. That would be interesting.
Right.
But no, I've been agreeing with everyone's commentary. I think there's like the level of him finally telling people, and then there's the second level of him being able to actually express who he is authentically, when he's speaking to Abby, um, you know, hitting on other guys, that kind of thing. Um, and like Ray said in the chat, acclimating to no longer hiding, which I think is a big part of the film. And the moment when he goes off and saying like, this was my story to own, and to reveal in
Yeah.
my own terms, that
Yeah.
truthfully, just like you said, Mr. Snippets, it took the movie for me like on another level.
Yeah.
Don't make me go read, Muncie
Yeah,
says.
don't make me read.
Hey, he chose this movie. He needs to read it then.
I agree with that. You were going to say all the movie things?
I think another thing too that was like getting me like that I wanted more from Simon was like when that moment when he finally confronts, or well, the the person that outed him confronts him rather. um I wish he would have got more like,
Mm-hmm.
I just wish there was more anger there. Like I was wanting him to like, I just felt like there wasn't enough.
To
Yeah,
really
like
go
he
and
wasn't
get into
like
him.
able to release enough to me. Like I would have been like,
I
I
think
don't
there was
know,
a layer of guilt
probably would have
there.
flew off the handle.
He was already still unraveling everything he had to do with his friends, which I know that he could blame on Martin, but he also
Yeah,
felt
but
personally responsible for. So he was still kind of dealing with those layers. And Simon also just seems chill. I don't know. Like
I
he
don't know.
just would never.
Relief,
I don't know.
right?
I'm a pretty chill person
Yeah, he
too.
I
Like
know.
does.
No,
get
you are
pretty
exceptionally
freaking
chill.
angry. So like,
Yeah, I agree.
so but
Um,
I don't know. I just felt like for him, like he needed to release some of that anger. That, and
maybe.
who
And
knows,
again,
like some anger from the whole time he's had to like keep this hidden too. There's got to be
maybe there was a sense of relief
of
though.
that.
Martin did get his
Yeah.
secret out. It's a negative thing,
Hmm.
but he didn't. Now it's done. So maybe there's a sense of relief there
But
too
the
that
thing is,
prevented
we
the
just
anger. I don't
talked
know.
about it. Martin took that away from him though, because that was his thing to tell. Like,
Agreed.
that's
And
not a
and I think
relief.
he was angry about
Like
that. But I think the relief was that he did
I
want to
don't
tell
think,
everybody.
but I don't think.
I don't know.
I think you're giving Simon more, I don't know, strife than what the character actually has, because he states in the beginning of the movie and in the middle that his life is pretty
oh
great.
yeah. Hmm.
Like he has great friends, he has great
But
parents.
but I
He
think he
enjoys
can
his
like
sister. So I
objectively do
think
that
that
though.
but I think hiding this secret for him wasn't so much like a. I know it was a burden. I won't say it wasn't a burden, but I don't think it was like a source of anger that he was hiding
No.
it. It was more so he was hiding it, I think, too, in a way of like, we have a tendency to try to protect people instead of living our own truth. So I think he was thinking he was protecting people, and to have somebody take that secret, it's like he unprotected all the people that he was trying to protect, instead of letting him one by one kind of tell people how he felt. Like I thought his anger was fine, because one, he is, like you guys are saying, he is a chill person. But also I think with so much that was going on with like him having to figure out how he's going to tell everybody now, because this secret is out and I had to tell my parents. Like I just don't think he wanted to be bothered with that kid. I think I this is my personal opinion, I think the level of anger was fine, especially for a person that doesn't seem to
Yeah,
blow up
I
like
just
that
know
at all.
I just
Because
know
it's
for
just
me
not his character.
personally, I've had a secret, or I had something very personal for me that someone else took from me and told someone else that was not within any of their right to do.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Not
that's why
theirs
like
to
I
say.
was putting myself, it's not on his level of, yeah, it was not his
In that
level, of
position,
course.
yeah, I
Like
get that.
it was still though this thing that I was like, I'm taking my time and picking my moments when and who to choose who I tell this thing to, you know, and then someone
Right.
else close to me also did it, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, and then I like, you know, approached that person and was angry with them. So, you know,
So you
I think
definitely
I was
relate
like
to him.
feeling like like
Yeah. If I'm gonna be honest, I felt bad for Martin.
right.
He definitely related to me. Yeah. I feel bad for Martin though because I felt like he's so
Yeah.
oblivious.
Yeah.
He's so like just thoughtless because he literally said like I didn't think it was the when it came out of his mouth I was like you
Right.
don't say things like that because he said like you know I did it because I wanted things to get off my chest.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
didn't think it was gonna be that big of a deal
Right.
for you maybe. Like when he
Right.
said that line, I was like, you do not say that to like
No.
anybody that you release their secret, their information. You don't say a line like that. And for him to be that dismissive, like honestly, his character could have went if this was more like a dark comedy, his character could go
Uh-huh.
really left because you blackmailing somebody so you can get with somebody and then you're hurt because you did something on your own volition and then
Yeah.
blame me for it and then
Because
you release
it
my
didn't work
secrets.
out for you, right? Like there was no
It didn't work out for you.
guarantee.
That's
Yeah,
kind
there
of
was
my
no
thought.
guarantee that
Did
they were gonna
Martin
get together either.
right?
Like,
Did Martin really believe that Abby was just gonna swoon to him because Simon was like, "Yo, dude, Martin's all right"? Like, did he really
right?
believe that?
Yeah.
Because if he did, he was more delusional than most movie characters.
I
I
mean,
get
I
it.
think a lot of teen guys would believe.
I don't.
Yeah.
You're not
That's
wrong, and
probably
I don't think that with all three of these
yeah, it's
movies,
probably
I think
something
there's a
like
level of realism when it comes to at least teenagers that I remember. I can't speak to teenagers for
Yeah.
25 years, but
This
there's
movie was
still there's a
very grounded.
universality to
Yeah.
teenagerhood. I think that teens don't want to believe is true, where adults still are like, "No, I was a teen. I
Right.
get it." So there's that, but the Martin character, I don't think I've ever met anybody quite like that guy. So that character kind of threw me off a little bit because he's
I
not
can't
not
find
quite,
people like him.
not the like
that.
overly confident
Mr.
idiot.
Rolling.
Like I don't know too many overly confident idiots.
Oh.
Like I do
I
know
met
a
one
lot of
today.
I know a lot of overly confident jerks.
I
Um,
know.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Naivety and overconfidence, I don't always go together. I don't know.
Join
That's
the
just me.
military, you'll meet a lot of them.
I did.
I can think of names of overly confident jerks in high school.
Oh no,
and
yes.
How they're, I mean they didn't graduate with me because they got kicked out of school because they couldn't keep their mouth shut. So I completely like I've seen this play out before.
All right.
Like that whole doves thing with the yeah.
You see, I've never like that's
Smaller
wild. Like
scale in a
what was with
private
the
school.
doves?
Right.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anybody relate to any of these characters
Muncie said
specifically?
he's met a
And
Martin. It's not
Mareka
pleasant.
Muncie said he's met a Martin and it's not pleasant.
That's fair.
Um,
Any of the characters? I
Yeah.
mean, we always say, is there a character that you relate to the most? That's one of our questions.
I kind of related. I kind of related to Abby, if I'm being honest. I'm used to being like the black girl around white people. Then also I do come from a home that's split. Like my dad's passed away now, but the majority of my starter life is what I call it. My starter life from like birth to like 10 was with my parents. And then I remember the fights. I remember I remember leaving, things like that. So like when she talked about like how not perfect her family life was and her trying to just have a like a positive outlook on things, like that was me growing up in my like middle school, high school years because I didn't have a father around. So it was just like I was like, well, I'm gonna be strong and positive because what else can I do?
Right.
And I really related to her character and actually to her hurt of somebody pimping her out, because she was just like, it's probably not a lot of men in her life that she can trust. She felt like she found two that she could, and one did this to her. So like, and I've been in positions where I've trusted men and women and they've let me down. So like I felt for her character.
The encouraging Nick to take Leah, it hurt all three of them at the same time because Leah liked Simon, Nick liked Abby liked Nick, and when Nick took Leah to the dinner, he took her to a place that Abby had told Nick about, like
Yeah.
dropping hints. Like it was just a
Yeah.
cycle of pain that was going through that friend group from
He did a great job of throwing
so,
one beautiful, terrible wrench into the whole mess. If you're gonna jack it up,
Right.
Simon pulled that off well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else relate to any of the characters?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I also feel like everybody was hiding secrets. But everybody was hiding
Right.
secrets, so that was my thing. I was like,
was Martin hiding
if
that
we're
he was
all
the
hiding
bear?
secrets, how are everyone mad at me because of my secret?
up until
He
then.
was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But everybody
Yeah.
was hiding secrets. Like Leah was hiding, Abby and
Yeah.
Nick was like everybody was hiding. So
Exactly.
like, don't get mad at me for hiding mine when you all held yours, and I didn't know the
Yeah.
situation because
But
nobody
isn't
was talking
that
about
Yeah.
it.
He had no
isn't
idea.
that typical of high
Think about
school
this.
and teenagers? They all do hide things.
So Simon goes to that one kid, Cal, after Blue,
I got some.
deletes his email, and he goes up to him and says, "Are you Blue?" At that point, the whole school knew about Blue, and instead of him being repulsed by Simon by doing that or anything else, he goes, "No, but a lot's been going on the last couple of days. Do you need to talk?" Like you barely see Simon really interacting with this guy, but there were some really gem people in the school that were just willing to talk. And then if you think about Ethan, Ethan's telling Simon about how his family, his mom still doesn't really completely accept him because he's like she loves him, but whenever they go to their grandparents, she always talks about all the girls that he's with,
Yeah.
and he's like, and the point where he said, it's what you hear in her voice, and even then with that whole situation where those guys were acting up in the lunchroom, Simon is apologetic for coming out, or this his orientation coming out, because it made it more difficult for the other gay guy in the school.
Right.
And so it's like Simon had like too many things where he just felt like it was just all negative for him, and it took him a while to really come to it. And then also just to think about it, his sister was trying to be supportive like right from the get-go,
Yeah.
because she saw the thing and she's trying to be there, and he
That had to be
snapped
hard
she
for her
walked
too.
away, but
She
yeah,
saw about her brother on a
yeah,
blog, like not from him.
yeah.
Like that had to be
Yeah,
like jarring.
I was gonna bring up when you asked like what
Yeah.
you identified with, like I was gonna bring up the brother and sister relationship, which I thought was fantastic in this movie. I really loved. I mean, I think the movie I chose is about a brother and sister relationship, so maybe that makes sense. I'm really close with my sister, so yeah, I actually absolutely loved that aspect of the film. I thought it was incredibly wholesome, and the way that she would defend him as best as she could, even though she was younger, I really enjoyed it a lot.
Well, just that first.
No, go ahead.
But I like that they like each other. I like that he's the older sibling that liked his younger sibling. Because you always get that trope where like the older brother is like, "Get out of my room!" Like he can't stand you, and he's just like, "I eat her food," and he likes her, and he encourages her. And I just thought, like, my brother did that. He still does that for me. So I felt like I could relate to that.
Yeah, that was something I was gonna mention. Was like what the filmmakers did right away was like, for me anyway, like I liked Simon within like 5-10 minutes of the film, like with just that little monologue he has at the beginning, talking about his family and about, he mentions that good life he had, and then the thing about his sister. It's like, how can you not like this kid? It's just
Agreed.
Yeah.
For me, we always talk about endings because for me, endings are really big. And this movie had a very solid ending that I expected. The kiss, I wanted them to cut credits, but then I realized when they did cut to the family scene at the end that that's how they started the film, and this was much more about him and his family and engaging with them. So I did like the way that they wrapped it up, where they brought it right back to where they started, and they had nice, end caps. It could have worked either way for me if they ended it after the kiss or there, but I liked it. Let's go ahead and rate this film because we are at 45 minutes. We could talk about that movie for a while, apparently. When we rate films, Mike, it's basically a 1 to 10. Rate it how you will. 10 is whatever you make it. Everybody has their own 10. And then we also try to rate films as if maybe your 12-year-old self would see them. And these are coming of age tales, so it's a chance our 12-year-old selves would have seen these films. So I'll go ahead and go first real quick. And Muncie, thank you for suggesting this film. We all seem to enjoy ourselves during this film, so thank you for that. And again, Real Study viewers, if you do want to request a film, don't hesitate to come into the chat, hang out, earn points, and then you can request a review. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this film an 8. I think this is a definite rewatchable film. It's one that I'm going to suggest to other people. I'm actually going to ask a few people what they think because I want to know. So there's going to be more engagement for me on this film later. And then as a kid, it's a toughie because I don't think I liked coming of age tales as much then because I felt like they were telling me how I was going to be, and I was like, I'll be who I want to be. And so I might have liked it less, probably a 6, if I'm being honest. That's where I'm at. How about you, all the movie things?
Yeah, I'm just probably solid 8.5 for me. Yeah, really, really like this movie. It kind of hit everything for me, especially if I can get really emotional with a film, like if it impacts me that way. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna really, that's a positive thing for me. So, yeah, 8.5. As a 12-year-old, I don't know if I would have seen this or not.
It was rated PG-13,
yeah,
by the way.
yeah. So, which my parents didn't care about that stuff. So it didn't matter. I was watching radar movies when I was 12.
Me too.
Yeah, probably be lower, probably like a 7. Because I'm not sure if I was like really into that kind of stuff
Sure.
back then. So
We're just going to go across the screen. Mike, what is your rating?
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be a little bit harsher here. I think I would rate it as an adult for like 7.5, 8 around there. Probably closer to 7.5. I'm similar to you guys. I don't think my 12-year-old self would have. I think 12-year-old me would have been like a rom-com. No way.
right,
Which is
right,
a little ironic because I actually think 12-year-olds should watch this movie.
right, yeah.
So maybe closer to like a 5 or a 6 if my 12-year-old self had watched it.
Okay, Mr. Marvelite.
I hate this genre. I'm just gonna say it. This film had a lot of good qualities. What I saw of it, what I didn't get up and walk out of the room for because of the anxiety that it caused. Um, it's solid story. I think the characters were very identifiable. You could kind of pick up. I don't think that they were too much over the top. Of course, I now think Logan Miller has a punchable face as Martin, and that is just going to be how it is. I just watched the second Escape Room film, and really wish he would have. Well, I'm not going to spoil it. Just yeah. So I'm probably gonna say for me, I'll say close to like maybe a 7 with Mr. Stinbits. I don't know how I would have rated this as a kid because you would have never got me, to sit down and watch it. I just wouldn't have. So I really can't rate it as a 12-year-old because I would have literally like read a book before I would have watched the film.
So rated a
about
null.
teenagers.
It's just a null. It's a blank.
Yes.
It's a little line.
It's
We'll
a
give it that.
it's a I'm in the room playing the Nintendo.
That's fair. Lala, what did you think?
I also want to say the teacher, Miss Albright, she's a gem. She was a gem throughout this whole film. We didn't talk about her enough or at all. She was just great. I give this film just like all the movie things. I give this film a solid 8.5. If you can make me cry, I'm there. Like if you can tear me up, if you can bring me in emotionally, like I'm there. And this film hit all the buttons for me. Like sibling love, family love, like I just cried. Friends love, and I didn't have friends like that growing up. So to see the close knit friendships, I was like, oh, did I miss something in my childhood? But it was, that was great. 12-year-old me, I've been watching teen drama stuff since the dawn of time. I probably would have watched this as a child, and I probably would have given it, I don't know, probably like an 8.5 or a 9 as a 12-year-old because I enjoy things like this, and I probably would have cried at 12. So yeah, I enjoyed this film. I will watch it again.
All right, I like it. So I'm actually going to have us move to the pre-review tonight before our second film, which is a little out of the ordinary. But I feel like the next two films stand right next to each other in a very fun and unique way because they're very similar in just like two sides of a coin in a way. Awkward teens, if you will. Simon was slick. Simon, he had his stuff together. He was not an awkward teen. He was kind of popular. But these next two movies are absolutely about awkward teens. And so for that reason, we're going to move over to the pre-review with Sean, and we'll be right back.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review. This week in theaters, we have Being the Ricardos. Director Aaron Sorkin brings us this amazing story about Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, played by the wonderful Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem. This looks really good. It's basically going to take us through the highs and lows of their careers and their marriage. I think this will be awesome. Lucy has been a staple that I've watched at Nick at Night since so many teenage nights were spent falling asleep watching Lucy. I can't wait to watch this. I'm not real big on musicals, but I know West Side Story is a big deal. And when it's directed by Steven Spielberg, I think maybe the tale between the Jets and the Sharks would be pretty fun. So we get a new version of West Side Story. And our final theater film this week, we have National Champions. And as a huge college football fan, I am pulled into this movie immediately. J.K. Simmons, Andrew Ludwig, Stephen James all take the roles of coach and players in the college football system. And when the big game shows up, these players stand up and they say, "We're not going to play unless we get paid equal amounts as to those that are in control of those games." They name off the NCAA and everything else. Oh, I could talk on about this movie because I really enjoy this subject matter. I'm going to watch this movie the moment it comes out. Moving on to Amazon Prime, we get Encounter. And this movie looks strange, and I don't know what to think about it. Apparently, an alien or an unnatural thing has occurred, and we don't know the extent of that, but this father, who is a Marine, is on his way home to pick up his children, and then they start a harrowing journey onto the safety. This trailer looks really incredible. It looks like this is going to be an fast-paced movie with a lot of things going on constantly that are going to keep this movie going. So I am fully in on this one. It looks great. Finally, this week, Netflix brings us The Unforgivable, starring Sandra Bullock, Viola Davis, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Sandra Bullock is playing a lady who committed a violent crime 20 years ago and spent 20 years in prison. Now she's out and returning home, and everybody around her is not so willing to forgive, even though she has done her time. This looks like a rough movie. I love movies like this. They really take you on an emotional roller coaster, but this one looks like I'm willing to ride. Thanks for watching, Real Study viewers, and we'll see y'all next week.
And as soon as we'll load in, we'll be back here from the pre-review. For some reason, Black Girl Marvel is here. Okay, she's here now. All right. So that was a great take on what's coming over the next week. That Sandy B movie kind of caught my attention. She has been doing more and more serious stuff as she gets older, and I love it. I want to see more from her. That's just me. That being said, we're going to move on to Mike's. Which one? You broke up there, Lala. What was that again? I think there might be a delay or something. I'm not sure what's going on there, but yes, we're going to. Nice. I agree. So that delay could explain a lot of things that I've been experiencing tonight. I was wondering what that was. That being said, we're going to move into the movie that Mike did pick, which is The Edge of 17 with Haley. I always screw up her name. I screw up actors' names all the time. Steinfeld, thank you. As well as Woody Harrelson and Kara Stein. There's a T in there. See, don't rely on me for the films, not the actors. Steinfeld, you know. I'm a teenager. No, yes, not Steinfeld. Woody Harrelson, Kara Sedgwick, as well as who was the other person? I think I recognize another person in the film. Regardless, Mike, what made you pick this film?
I think it's one of the best portrayals, at least that I've seen, of depression and anxiety and social anxiety in a film that I thought was completely relatable. Um, and I think the dynamics here, that maybe I'm like going a little too deep into it, but like when you have your favorite person and then they move on to someone else and you have no idea how to exist without them, and how that unravels for Haley Steinfeld's character and her mental health going forward was such a specific experience that I mean, I know that I've that I've experienced, that just became, I think, is sort of universal while being oddly specific at the same time. That's the perfect blend for this film, and I thought the performances were great. And it's not too much of anything. There's, it doesn't. It's not too much of X, Y,
They
or
can't
Z.
hear us.
No, we're good. We're back online.
Okay. All right.
That was a bit ago.
It's not too much of anything, and I also think that the humor is really great. And for some reason, I think I've read the script for this one, and the script was really funny as well. Really like reminded me almost of like 30 Rock humor, if that makes sense. That the film isn't exactly like that, but I loved it. I honestly, I love the movie, and that's why I chose it.
That's fair. All the movie things. What is your initial take on Edge of 17?
Yeah, this is my second viewing of this. Like, I'm right with Mike. Like, I really love this movie. This was one like I remember being excited about, just because it looked so different from other like coming of age kind of like teenage comedies, and I also, another thing is I watched this on a Tuesday night right before Hawkeye, so I like had this whole like Haley Steinfeld night, and so yeah, it's just, I mean, she's incredible. I've loved her ever since True Grit. I mean, she was like
Yes.
blew me away in that, and she was like 14 or something in that movie. Yeah, and she's excellent in this, and I think, I mean, Mike nailed it with like seeing that, like, yeah, she has this anchor and this friend that she's had all her, her young life, um, and then all that suddenly ripped away and attached to someone else that she doesn't really, even though it's her brother, there's still this thing where she's had this resentment for him, and then this person, like, she's kind of like lost and just trying to find her way and making all these mistakes and fumbling through things and thinks she needs to replace it with this other guy, that she's not even really sure if she really likes or not, but is like kind of attracted to. And I really like the dynamic between her and Woody Harrelson. Like, there's some kind of like dark humor in those elements, but like, I mean, that's like right up my alley. So it was pretty great.
Yeah, I have a 1-year expiration on deceased relatives.
Yeah, like when
I love that.
And the whole thing about like, yeah, it's like him writing this fake suicide note about, his fleeting 32 minutes of whatever during lunch is the only time he gets to be free.
He looked up at her and double checked her. Was like, and badly dressed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just great all around. Yeah.
I'm with you. I agree. This is my first viewing. I did not expect to. Well, I figured I'd like it. She is good in everything you see her in. She's done a great job so far, so I didn't expect not to like it. But it's just, I'm in my 40s. I'm not running around watching teen dramas. Just usually, doesn't mean I don't, but generally. But as this movie unraveled, I could tell right away I was going to like it. She's quick-witted. It had quippy dialogue, which, it was almost like teen Sorkin dialogue, if you will, which I thought was great. And then I think what I liked about this movie the most was that it set up expectations for you, and you're probably wrong about what you think is going to unravel in this movie. I thought certain things were going to go one way and they went another. And the story really was about a person trying to better themselves and stop seeing things only from their own selfish point of view, which is not a typical story. So I'm with Mike on that one. It's not your typical story where it's like, oh, everybody gets better. No, really, Nadine needed to take a step back and accept herself and the people around her. And that's a very unique story, in my opinion. How about you, Lala? What do you think? She's on a delay, so we'll see.
This is my second viewing of this film. it sucks that I'm on a delay. That
You're
really
good. I
sucks.
think you heard me this time.
Anyway, I could always hear you. It's just that y'all can't hear me, so it's like I'm talking over y'all, but y'all talking over me. It's a weird dynamic to have. But I enjoyed this film because I relate to Nadine a lot. Growing up, if I met a person that I liked, I clung to that person, and then when they disappeared, I was like, "Why did you leave?" So, type of thing. But I enjoyed this film because for me, it felt like the most grounded in the way, like even with dialogue, like I'm very sarcastic with the people in my life. I make very weird jokes. Even I've had somebody tell me like I'm really thinking about like killing myself, and I knew the person well enough to know that they weren't going to do it, and I was like, well, if you do it, make sure you give me your thing in your room that I liked. I just like I was like a Woody Harrelson type of character where it's like I know you're not going to do this. So let's cut the drama and like tell me what's really, like what's really going on. I felt like that was Woody Harrelson's character. He was just like, that's cute, this little soliloquy we got going on, but like, what's really going on? So, um, I mean, I enjoyed this film. It was great to kind of like watch it again because I think when I first watched it, I was kind of like, that's great. But as a person who has suffered from depression, it still kind of does, um, and bouts of loneliness and like feelings of inadequacy within themselves. To see Nadine kind of be like, sometimes I feel like I'm floating outside of my life, and then I look at myself and I don't like what I see. Like that hit home very hard for me. I was like, well, damn, that's how I see myself sometimes. Like I don't see myself as a worthy person or worthy of any of these things. But all in all, I thought it was a great film. I will say though, I don't know how in control I would be if my best friend, since we were in second grade, started banging my brother.
Mm-hmm. That's when I understood Nadine the most. I was like,
I
she
don't know
should be
how.
pissed.
I don't know how. I don't know how cool. I don't know how cool I would be with that friend anymore. Me and my brother would have words. There's no like, get over it because we care about each other. No, like, no, like, because I'm assuming they're like 2 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it's barely 2 years
or maybe
apart.
even a year. I think she's a junior. They're both juniors, and he's a
so like,
senior.
or maybe even like a year. But sometime in age, that doesn't account to just
Right.
1 year.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can account to like two. In these, like, they're like 1 to 2 years apart. But it's like that's weird, bro. You've known this girl just as long as I have. Why are you like y'all shouldn't be kicking it like this? Like, and I get it. The way that it happened was very like oopsie daisy.
They were both.
Type
Well,
of
he
thing.
doesn't drink.
But that's
he
just
wasn't
weird.
drinking.
Like you don't date my brother, bro. No, he wasn't drinking. But it's like you don't date my brother. You don't go give my brother a hand job in the morning or whatever. Like you just don't do these things. It's just I feel like there are lines that shouldn't be crossed, and I feel like a lot of
we
movies.
did not turn Lawless.
I feel like I feel like a lot of movies have a trope where a character gets to do something like very disrespectful to another character, like a main character, and then that character should just get over it and forgive everybody, and their feelings aren't validated in the fact that like you don't touch my sibling or you don't touch my best friend. Like those are things.
Well,
that
even
are
her mom
problems.
wasn't
But
really
other than that, I
understanding
thought the film
either.
was great.
Like
her mom was the worst.
Their mom was like, I get it. It was just young. She wasn't the worst though.
Right.
She was, but the mom was depressed in her own right, and they just didn't dig deeper into it.
Exactly.
The mom was depressed because her and Nadine are way more similar than I think that they wanted to admit to each other. Because just as Nadine put herself into her best friend's like world, and it's just us together. Mother did that with the husband, and so when he died, she was just like, I don't know what to do. So she put everything on her son, which that's relatable. I've seen
that's
that
fair
many a times too. So
let's hear what Mr. Marvel.
I also like that part.
No, please.
Go. What you were gonna say first?
No, sorry. I was gonna say one of the things I love about this movie is that every character, except maybe the kid, I forgot his name, that Nadine really likes. They really have a lot of layers to them. And then at the end, where her brother like goes off on her, and you don't realize like how much he's been holding on his his shoulders to keep everything together. Every just like I said, everybody has like that one scene that really adds so much more depth to their characters that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Mr. Marley.
I like that too.
So I think what was interesting was that like Nadine did not understand that everybody else was either hurting or having issues of their own, and so she was projecting her feelings of, and I like how she said it near the end where she said, you know, my pain or me having problems and issues is kind of what makes me special. It makes me feel like I'm set apart from everybody else, and then she's had this idea that that she's the only one that's had problems, that her mom is her problem, her brother's her problem, the death of her father's her problem. You know, and then even to the point of where with Mr. Burner, with Woody Harrelson's character, you know, we first see her critiquing him, and you know, it's picking at everyone with the exception of her best friend. And then when her best friend then, you know, sleeps with her brother, then her best friend, it's not a "you hurt me, let's talk about this," it's like a scorched earth response that she had, where, you know, she didn't want them together, and she felt betrayed by her friend. And I thought it was very telling when her brother looks at it and says, you know, the one person I feel like understands me, that I can be, you know, myself with, I can't have because it's destroying my sister. And it's like Nadine didn't realize she had a lot of people that were caring for her. I don't think her mother necessarily didn't care for her, but we do see in the story, you know, she's definitely, she's got her own issues, and she has this unrealistic expectation from her daughter to be more like her brother. And it was very telling toward the end where she had been ignoring and brushing off and everything else with her mother the entire film. But at that end, when she kind of started coming to terms with herself and she had that touching moment with her brother, instead of just ignoring her mom, she replies back, "I'm safe." And then you see the mom then have to deal with, okay, how am I going to deal with this? You know, call me immediately. You better be. And then, okay. And it was kind of one of those things where the mother had been basically picking at the daughter, and I think knowing that the daughter had her father's heart that whole time until he died, and that he made the difference in that relationship, and then her mother not being able to relate. I think it was almost like she was projecting on Nadine insecurity she had about her own self.
Well,
And
her husband died 4 years earlier, and she was still dealing with the fallout. 4 years is not enough to be completely through that and deal with all these
right,
teenagers. Um,
right,
yeah, no, the mom was a mess, but for reasons.
right. And it was just interesting. And um again, I mean, this one didn't cause me as much anxiety as Love, Simon. There wasn't so many as many like overly embarrassing, like you knew everything was going to collapse. It was just like Nadine was just messed up the whole film. With the exception of the text message, I had to walk out at that point because I knew where that was going. But I love how the teacher, Mr. Burner, where she was constantly picking at him, and she had this assumption of him. He was always there for her, and then realizing that he had himself more together than anybody else in her life, and seeing him at his home with his family, I think it made her remember her dad, and I thought that was what tendered her up enough to where when her brother went in and went at her, that was what kind of broke her. And um, it was nice to see Woody Harrelson in this role, you know, instead of like killing zombies or trying to marry a screeching inmate or whatever. But yeah, it was I really I like this more than I thought I did. I struggled through maybe the first 30 to 40 minutes of the film because I was just not understanding what Nadine was going through until that moment where everybody just kind of put all the cards on the table. So yeah.
You also forgot he screams at a volcano in a movie, but anyway, just thought I'd put that out there. I agree with everything you guys are saying. This movie, I think, deserves more than it got. Yes, it got recognition, but when you said that you were surprised Haley didn't win an award for this, I would have to agree that her quip, her
No, she did.
delivery,
she won a whole bunch of awards.
but the big awards like
Well, I mean, Academy.
Academy, yeah, Academy, or even Golden Globe. I know there are a lot of awards given away,
It
but if
depends
it's a
on what
small
you
film
expect against.
festival,
But I understand. I understand. Yeah.
And
I
agreed.
understand.
That's the problem with awards, is that we're not giving them based upon your own merit like golf. We're giving them based upon other people's performances, and they're not fair to pit against each other because what am I talking about? I do it all the time. Okay, that's what my whole TikTok's about. So that being said, do you guys want to delve further into this? Because for me, the moments in this film that were teenager related, I was like, dude, I remember dibsing the house, getting drunk before I was supposed to, rolling around like an idiot with my friend on the floor, and not having big parties. Like, part of my teenagehood wasn't going to big parties, it was getting drunk like that. The parents in these movies I either relate to because I am one now, or I'm like, oh yeah, they keep writing parents well. And the Kara Sedgwick character is my mother. And I'm not trying to, Mom, if you're listening, just be real. You are difficult. And flighty. And flighty.
It's good that you got through Thanksgiving already.
Oh no,
she in the chat?
No, my mom does not watch this show. That would be really embarrassing. I have sent her the link, but she won't watch it. That's why I'm willing to talk about this. But no, I felt whenever I watch these characters, I'm like, oh, okay, if they're a parent, I either relate to whether I'm a parent in that way or will be, or whether my parents were, and they keep either showing my stepmother in film or my mother, and I can't get past either. So anyway, yes,
was that Mommy Dearest?
Black Girl Marvel has her hand up as if she.
I gotta put my finger up now, so you guys can all want to say something.
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah. So, I just want to say, I think that Erwin is like the cutest little person in cinema right now. His little nervousness whenever he's around Haley's character is the cutest thing I've ever seen in life. He's just so nervous. And you actually see him come out of his shell as the film keeps going. You see him he gets a little more funnier. He gets a little more comfortable with her. And one of my favorite scenes is like towards the end where he's like, all his friends are coming around to, because it mimics the scene at the party when she was with her brother and her friend. And then he's like, I want to introduce you to some people. And I felt like, okay, you're not going to introduce your sister? Like that's already like shady to me, that you're not going to introduce your sister, but you introduce your girl. Like, okay, like I'm here too.
Yeah.
And she got left alone. And then when Erwin's friends were like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And then he pulled in and was like, hey, this is Nadine. I was just like, like I breathed like a really big deep breath, like, oh, I bet that felt so good for her to like have that moment where somebody includes her, where somebody wants her to be there, because up until her brother going off on her, like it didn't seem like he wanted anything to do with her in a sense. And I get that he was busy, but this is one of those brother-sister relationships I can't stand, because honestly it doesn't mimic the one I have with my brother. So it's like we were never at odds with each other. We never yelled at each other. We don't fight. We don't get into arguments. So when I see those type of relationships, it's always like, how? like you grew up together and they're so close in age, and it's like, how is that even a thing? Like, it's weird, because honestly, when the brother said like the whole, like, the one person like that makes me feel like everything's okay and I can't really be with her without completely destroying you, I feel like that was just slight manipulation. Like, I'm supposed to be like, oh, so you can be better if you're with my friend. You look this way, you can be with anybody in the world.
Right.
But you chose my friend. But it's okay. But that's, I can talk about that all day.
That's fair.
I do have to mention too that this, I like this film also because it's like set here in Oregon.
Right.
But they didn't shoot it anywhere in Oregon though. They shot in Canada, of course.
It looked like Oregon.
There's Oregon. No, it totally looks like Oregon. Yeah, but there's like, that's why they shot in BC, because it's the closest, environment to.
They do that. They do that in Michigan. They do that
a lot. But there's Oregon plates and Oregon state flags in there. Yep. Why it's set in Oregon, I don't know. They never even mention it in the film. It's not mentioned at all. That there's no Lakewood High School in the Portland metro area or anything like that.
I was going to say
like,
that shot of the lake with the city behind it was not Portland, and there are no other cities that size
you
in
can
the state.
Tell it's BC.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Oregon.
We don't have buildings like that.
Yeah. Well, Portland has a couple of big buildings, and this is the biggest building in the entire state. Period. Like, they just are. No, I'm with you. I thought that was cute. Seeing that Oregon flag with the two-sided state flag, that we're the only state that has both sides, because we're cool. Mr. Marvelite, any final thoughts about Age of 17s? We are going to move on to the way back
Well, I was
soon.
just laughing. I was just laughing because Bats just put in the comment, my younger brother dated my best friend while I was for a while, and it was the most awkward thing ever. And it's like, oh my goodness. See, that's the thing. Like I always wonder. Like I grew up as an only child, so I don't get the sibling like interactions. I've watched Friends with sibling interactions. I have seen so many comedies and stuff. I don't know how I would have felt. I would like to think that I would be the good brother. I would be supportive and we would be friends. But knowing my family, odds are we probably would have been at each other's throats. And I really think it's a dynamic. It's kind of fostered through the parents. Like when you go back and look at Love, Simon, it's believable that him and his sister would have a good relationship because the parents were very open, and it was very much family centric. They were focused on each other, and even the mom says, I knew you had a secret, but it was your secret. And there's that trust within the family. With this family, it's very disjointed. The father, who was kind of like that 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 glue for the family, dies. And then of course Nadine feels like she's out of place. Her brother is still got the support system of the doting mother for him, but at the same time, even that was a farce. So it was just a misunderstanding. And so you have a communicating family versus a non-communicating family, and me being an only child who doesn't understand any of this, trying to analyze it. So I would hope to think that that it's very realistic. The one thing that I thought was very interesting was like the Haley Steinfeld's character really trusted Mr. Burner a lot. And I like there were red flags for me. Like, you know, he meets her at a diner and tips the place, takes him in his car back to his house. Now we know that his wife was there with their child, but it was like I'm sitting there going, what teacher would do this? What teacher in this day and time would even have a female student in a miniskirt? Just the risk going there.
It might happen.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, Oregon might have it.
I'm kidding.
You mean the Canadian side of Oregon? That's what it's all about.
No, you're right. That is awkward, but it also shows his dedication as a teacher and shows that he also knew he had a wife and daughter at home or son at home. That nobody was going to be like, "What are you doing?" Because they're all, it was very wholesome. Still, it felt. It felt like I got to help. My student out. Teachers still, I probably do that. They just don't talk about it anymore like they used to. Is my guess. Yeah. It's a really uncanny thing kind of fell down here in the chat. I thought that was kind of interesting. Apparently this is now the Reels therapy session, and we're getting a lot of therapy. And yes, Black Girl Marvel, my wife and I show that we're married by constantly saying the same thing at the same time. It's very fun. So that being said, it is 8:15. Why don't we spend any more thoughts on this? Mike, you got any more thoughts? All the movie things, Mr. Marvelite, Black Girl Marvel.
I mean, I did choose. The reason I really do love this movie is that it doesn't feel like an after-school special, even though it could have been. It's not cheesy. Woody Harrelson does not cut her any slack. No one cuts her really any slack in this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
I like how we were talking about how she was like walking around with blinders on, and she gets to learn about different characters really late into the movie. Like she learns about Erwin's artistic side, or she learns about Woody Harrelson's family really late into the movie, that kind of thing. And that scene, Lala, that you mentioned, where she's like, I feel like I'm floating outside of my body. I think I was bawling watching that scene. That really moved it from this to this. And last but not least, that final scene where he brings her into the friend group. It's just like she can finally breathe. It's the perfect final shot, in my opinion. And you don't need more. You don't need her like hugging her family,
right?
Or just the fact that she's not going to be close with her friend anymore. But at least they'll be cordial. Like at least you get that.
Exactly.
Like I said, I think it's just sublime.
I thought there was that promise though.
I like the I miss her.
Yeah.
At the end.
But that sucks.
Yeah. When she told me, can I call you? And
that sucks
Yeah, but that's what I
though.
mean. They're not gonna
That
like
sucks,
be
though.
hanging out every day, but
Yeah.
like now
No,
she at least has found this new friend group, and she's gonna become her own
Yeah,
person.
it feels more real in that situation.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that's great, but that still sucks
Yeah, it
though.
sucks. But
It's like
But that's
I would
life.
die on the hill that nobody that you shouldn't touch anybody in my family or my friendship. Like I just feel like I would die on that hill. I would die
Don't
on
choose
it.
who you love,
So
though.
best friends would not be like bosom
That- that-
sisters,
that-
like just
you
like
just
that camaraderie within the family.
no, no, no. It'd be a different. I feel like it'd be a different story if like they didn't know, like nobody knew I existed in that sense. Like if I had a friend that I didn't bring to the house, if I had a friend that like nobody really knew, and then they just somehow met out in public, and I didn't know these things, like to me that's a whole different story. Like I can't stop that natural reaction from happening. But since she was like 4.
I think that's kind of
And
it
you've been
because
dating people and all this time.
maybe this is revealing too much of
it.
myself, but you know when
I
you
just
have
don't like
like one friend group and another friend group, and then you introduce them, and then two people start becoming better friends without you. I feel like that actually adds an element to it because
Yeah.
it's two people she's really close with, and they're forming their own relationship without her, and that's almost like more isolating than if it had been people she didn't really care. You know what I mean?
In front
Something
of her
about
too.
that.
Every time they're around her,
Yeah,
they're in the car, they're at her home. She can't escape them getting closer
She
together.
can't escape it.
Right.
Yeah, like she wouldn't even get in the car.
I just don't like
you know, when her brother came to pick her up
with them,
from the teacher's place. Because
I think it also has to do with the fact of whether or not it's done in secret, or if like, you know, you're around, like let's say you're around your sister and you notice that she's taking an interest. If you give that, you know, you condone it and say, you know, you both would be good together, you know, and you acknowledge that, and then they, you know, they blossom into a relationship. That's a little bit different too. But I get, you know, you wake up in the morning and ooh.
It's so gross, but it's like she stated before that her best friend knows how she feels about her brother. Her best friend knows the angst and the anger and the things she feels about her brother, and then you go and like have sex with him. Like that's just I don't condone it. It's like you know how I feel about him, but like where did this come all of a sudden? We've never had a conversation where you said anything about my brother, but you
though in a situation similar.
I haven't. No.
So or you know someone. Either you have or you know someone who's been in a situation where you've never met a single person that slept with somebody they maybe shouldn't have. That's pretty common.
Oh well, not someone else's.
Oh, that's a
brother or
That's
sister.
a different story. I'm talking about siblings. That's a whole different thing.
We're talking about siblings.
I don't know. I think that you can't help who you love, and it's going to. And this is human. The human mess. You know, this is the reality of the human mess. Is somebody in this trifecta is gonna be unhappy, and that's the kind of the point of the film in a way. Not the whole point. But
I think. Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say. I think that the good thing about it too is that there are real consequences for those actions. They're no longer going to be best friends. You know what I mean?
No,
but she'll at least.
That's what I was saying. That's real. Like to me that was like a real moment.
No, that is a real moment. But again, I feel like that sucks. There's somebody that I've spent a nice chunk of my life with that I thought that like we would go to college together, we would do these things together. We'll no longer be that close because of a situation that me personally I feel should have never happened.
Sure. I'm with you with that. Yeah.
I think what they're trying to do too is like leave it a little open ended because like we really don't. Yeah, we really don't know. Like maybe they'll come back around and
they could break up and then they become friends after the summer or whatever.
No, I'm not a fly by night friend.
You're not a fly by night friend.
This is also where I kind of feel like the idea with people with definitions of the word love. I feel like a lot of these times when we see these relationships where I just woke up with you, that's infatuation. That's not necessarily love. I think love is a choice.
Right.
You choose to love somebody. You know, you choose to love their their faults, their problems. You know, you can fall out of like with somebody. You can fall out of lust for somebody. But let's face it. Whether or not it's even considered love.
I've always had a crush on your brother or something. Like I've always had a crush, and I couldn't like if a line was thrown in there, like one line, I think would have changed maybe the way I felt about this. But for her to go from like being kind of like on her side of like your brother is annoying to being like hand job in the morning. Like it doesn't make sense to me. So
just that term.
That kind of
That's
rhymes.
censor again. That's censor.
So we are
Play with
PG-13.
respect.
I don't know if I can say that that's beyond PG-13, but you did say it twice. Let's be
No.
careful.
that is
I'm
not
kidding,
beyond,
of course.
that is very PG-13 of what I
Not
can
these
say.
days.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
if you can drop an F-bomb at least once,
Right.
you're
Yeah,
good.
I think
That's right.
Yeah,
the show is
true.
meant to be able to draw an audience as PG-13 rated or over, so that we can have a broader audience. But if you want to say the F-bomb occasionally,
We also draw straws. Who's allowed to say?
Yeah, who can
drop an
say it? I'm
F-bomb.
wondering.
no, I said the F-bomb
Yeah, so
because I
each
wasn't
week
allowed to. Yeah,
Each week.
yeah, each
Yeah.
week it changes.
I think it's
Yeah.
Mr. Marvelite,
Yeah,
but he doesn't say it.
I
So
don't
he drew
curse,
the straw, but
so-
never gets to say it. So but that means
Yeah.
no
Yeah, at
F-bombs
least
this
there's
week.
1 week that we.
But
No, I think
sometimes I say
Snippet
two.
takes my turn.
Yeah.
And we're gaslighting Mike. Okay, so moving to the review portion, the rating portion of this film. Since it was Mike's film, why don't we let him give his rating? And
I
we'll go from there.
mean, do I have anything bad to say about this? No, I think this is a solid 9 for me. Could have been better, maybe, but yeah, I really like it. And then, of course, my 12-year-old self. I don't think my 12-year-old self would have been champing at the bit to watch this movie, but I think he would have given it a good 6 or 7. I think he would have really liked it.
He would have been
7.
like, "Oh, the girls" or whatever, or
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, I think he just wouldn't have. I think the way it was marketed, you know what I mean, probably wouldn't have watched it. But then watching it, the humor actually probably would have connected with him. It's it's pretty, it's kind of edgy, kind of gross at the same time. So he would have liked that a lot.
I love how you're dedicated to the third person.
Well, it is a different person.
It's no
even
longer me.
physically.
No, it's really not you. Yeah.
Black Girl Marvel. What did you think about At the Edge of 17?
I give this a solid 8. It would have been an 8.5, but that relationship is a no for me. So I had to remove a 0.5 for that. But it's still, my 8s are still. I will still watch it again. It's still rewatchable. Even though I'll be praying for their downfall every watch.
She's like, maybe it'll end differently this time.
Yeah, maybe just this one time.
Damn it, same.
It's the same. What is wrong with film? Why does it change every time? No. But all in all, it's a good film. It's rewatchable. I think it hits home when it comes to different mental I don't like to call it mental illness, but depression and anxiety and just social anxiety, family, everything you could think of. The film has, because it deals with the dynamics of siblings, dynamics with parents, things like that. So a solid 8. 12-year-old me, I used to watch films like this growing up. I think 12-year-old me probably would have given it, I'll be so honest, a 6, and it probably would have dropped it because of the relationship, because it's weird. Because I had an incident in middle school where my brother's friend liked me, and I said, "Ugh, you know my brother." So that's a no-go. So yeah.
All right, Mr. Marvelite.
It's funny. I hate this genre, but I'm actually
Oh,
finding.
that's surprising.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep saying it. Just you almost sound sarcastic there. But it's like I will say, I think this is the case, and I think for the last film, this film, and especially the next one we're going to be going into, I'm kind of glad that I was kind of forced into watching this. And so I would say for Edge of 17, mind you, I loved her in True Grit. Of course, a lot of people are standing her right now. Haley
She's number one on
Steinfeld,
IMDb right now. So
yeah, I mean, I promise you, there are some of my mutuals, the videos about how much they like her is getting cringy at this point. And it's
right.
I will say she's one of those individuals that has played different types of roles, and from True Grit, where she had that serious, more mature for her years, but it was very rigid because of that time, that era. You have her in this one where she's very angsty, and she's going through a lot of personal turmoil, and then you've got her like with Hawkeye, where she's fangirling, and she could just kick butt and take names. It's been surprising. I'm glad to kind of get forced into this. So for this film, I'm going to probably say, even though it's, if you don't know, the genre is not my favorite. I would probably go with probably about an 8.5 for this film. And
Wow.
and that's
Especially
just,
for a genre you don't like.
I'm with Lala. I don't like the relationship between the brother and the friend. I think it happens way too fast, and I also think, for that relationship with Nadine, it doesn't make a super sense for me. But I get it's a plot point. But other than that, I would never watch this as a 12-year-old, because if you didn't know, I don't like these type of genres. So
What?
Okay. No, did you hear him? He said he doesn't like this genre. I don't know if you heard that earlier. I wanted to make sure you heard that.
Yeah, blew my mind.
But it's this genre. Not,
take a shot every time he says it. That's it.
Mind you, this is not as bad as
Make
most
the real
of the
study
genre
your
is not as
drinking
bad as
game.
Repo the.
Yeah.
No, nothing's as. Oh,
Honestly,
I'm sorry to
they
my
should.
wife, but nothing is as bad as Repo so far. I think Repo is the worst rated film we've had on the real study so
I think
far.
so. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And that was last
Yeah,
week,
it
and
pretty-
it's okay.
Man.
So myself,
Across the
this
board.
is a 9, without a doubt.
Ooh, look at you.
I definitely think it's a 9. I wanted to
Mike's
say
happy.
10, but I just think there's enough angst in it that I wouldn't keep watching it over and over again. So it's a 9. I do have to say, I didn't get to say this earlier, that I was talking about how some of the points of the film twisted on me and I didn't expect it. I didn't expect all the stuff that Mike brought up, that everybody gets, we learn all these things late in the film, third act, reveals. But also the guy she was after, they mentioned that he was in juvie, he looked kind of shady, and they get in the car together, and my brain's like, uh-oh. This is gonna go bad. This is gonna go sideways.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go sideways. And I was actually really like, okay, cool. She's just a jerk. And I'm okay with that, because she literally set this guy up to believe what he like. She full invite.
true.
I
Like,
don't think
come
he
do
was
this
half
with
the
me.
stuff that she thought him as.
No. He was just like, oh,
Like,
she's
I think
invited
all
me
that
to
was
go have sex.
reputation.
I'm gonna go do this. Like, why wouldn't?
But
he?
I felt like that was a naive point of hers too, to just, you said all these things to him, and then you just thought this was going to be like a nice get to know you date.
But he stopped. Every time she asked, he stopped immediately. He was very respectful in that way.
No, he
Just
did.
like, dude, what is going, like, you are straight leading me on. And that's just not what you see in film very often. It's always, I expected that trope to run straight through, and it wasn't. And it's just refreshing. This film had a lot of those refreshing moments in that way.
I think the other thing is, though, she was planning on planning on following through, like prepping for that.
I don't think she knew what following through
wreck.
meant, though. I don't think she knew.
No.
I think she thought she knew what sex
No,
was.
she didn't.
But I think she
did.
As soon as she got into it, she was like, "Oh, that's what that feels like. This is too much, too intense," and she stopped.
And that's just another layer of her being like a repressed version of herself, of like not getting those social cues and knowing those social things and stuff like that.
Being vulnerable.
Also, Snitty, just so you know, the young guy that plays like that guy that she likes is in the car. He's on Supernatural.
He's on Supernatural, the show that I can only watch one episode of. Apparently.
Yes, I know.
I tried. I think I'm just done with television for the most part.
Me too.
It's weird. I'm very, very tired of television. Yeah, I just like movies. And some MCU. I know Mike is the opposite. Like the way Mike is to television, I am to movies.
I know.
We make a nice pair.
Although I will agree,
we got a big TV guy here, and you're like, TV.
People ask me about Supernatural all the time, and I go, I've watched that pilot 3 times, and I just have never continued.
See? Okay, now here's the thing.
You know it's more than just the pilot, though, right?
Now, Mike and I are going to agree on one thing, because I already know he's a Buffy stan like I am, and we can agree on that. And not liking Supernatural, I think, is a natural reflex to being such a big Buffy stan. Like, it's like, why would I watch these tropes again with these two dudes?
Because I'm a Buffy stan, and I watched Buffy first, and I love Supernatural. Just saying.
It does have a lot of the same tropes, though. Like the tropes.
Maybe
like,
I'll watch episode 2.
I don't know.
There you go.
But it kind of, but you have to. But I would say like the first season does. But as you keep going, it's not the same. Those tropes don't.
The movie guy says stop at season 5.
No. He's absolutely correct, because the creator only the creator literally wrote out a lesson plan for 5 seasons, and those 5 seasons are immaculate. And now you got some great stuff in the 10 seasons that follow. You got some good stuff, but it's just those 5 seasons are just well manicured. That's what it is. So I say watch them all.
That's fair. Muncie is calling me out a little bit, so I gotta defend myself for a moment. He says follow through, and I'll say I usually do.
Yeah.
But I've tried 3 times to watch Supernatural. I watched the first episode twice and got to the second episode on my third instance and got bored. I was so bored. I don't care about Wendigos anymore. I've seen every iteration of Wendigos, every trope about Wendigos. I'm done. Let's get back to the fact that we have one more film and now less than a half an hour to discuss a film that I think deserves more than that, but we're kind of stuck with what we've got. My kid self would have rated that film probably a 6, and it would have grown on me over the years.
Respect. Mm-hmm.
All the movie things I did ask you, right? I want to make sure I caught everybody.
Nope.
You didn't. Then let's hear your take on Edge of 17.
It's fine. That's good.
Not your genre?
It's whatever.
Good. All right. So the third movie. So.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna give this a 9. Also, this is like one that I love, and I loved it just as much, if not more, the second time around. So, I probably wouldn't have watched this as a 12-year-old. It's like it may have been like a 6 or 7 if I had watched it, but yeah, it's just like everything with this kind of genre as a 12-year-old, I was not really watching. So
that's fair. So we're going to move on to The Way Back, which is our final film for the evening. This movie stars Toni Collette, Allison Janney, Sam Rockwell, and I always forget her name. See, there I go again.
Steve Carell.
Well, it does have Steve Carell as well.
Steve Carell.
And it was easy for me to forget him in this because he's such a dick in this movie. And
all right.
Anyway, why don't we?
What's her name? The blonde girl.
The blonde girl who plays his friendish person in the film.
Anna Sophia Robb.
Thank you. And she's got such a unique name. So let's start off with Mr. Marvelite. What did you think of The Way Back, since this isn't your genre?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. Okay, first impression of this film, getting through this, I felt like this was like grown-ups that actually had a point. You had a lot of like people that were definitely in like the grown-up series, not a lot, but it just had that whole kind of like vibe to it. Just with Sam Rockwell, mind you, as soon as I realized Sam Rockwell was in this film, I was ready for it. I could watch pretty much anything that he's in and just enjoy it. It's like Nicolas Cage. You hire him to be himself, and he's hilarious. I thought that the idea of him coming into his own and being his own person away from his family in secret this whole time was a great concept. And the reveal at the end was perfect. How everyone's like, oh, he is this this person.
Papa Lock.
Papa Lock. Yeah.
Papa Lock. That was fantastic. But like he immediately, where you have this awkward teenager who is in this situation. Steve Carell, in the first conversation he has with this character, you just hate him. Yeah. And I pretty much like Steve Carell in a lot of stuff, but he's just like, he oozes a jerk. And when they finally had that moment,
it's very uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable.
Like, wait, this is Steve Carell. You're like, whoa, yeah.
And it's you almost can understand that the relationship between the mom and this guy is Trent is toxic, for the fact of he wasn't interested in building a family. He was interested in tearing this kid down. And it was just another obstacle that he had to face. And you even see where the daughter projects the father's behaviors, and then when the father goes up and does stuff that then affects her, you can see her open up as well. But the water park is fantastic. I loved that. I actually was very disappointed that the movie ended as it did. Like, I wanted more. It's kind of like what Mike said about Love, Simon. Like, I really wanted, I wanted, at first I'm like, I want them to stay there. I wanted them to, figure something out. I almost wanted there to be this moment where Trent kind of came and understood that he was a jerk, but then of course that wasn't what he was tasked to be. But it was a great film. And the kid, what's his name?
Duncan.
The Duncan, the cross-eyed kid.
Oh, that kid. Okay.
No, that's Peter.
That's Peter. Yeah, Peter and Duncan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wear the patch.
Peter. I loved his energy, and
a lot of confidence on his
like,
kid.
Yes, a lot of confidence in this kid. He wasn't afraid of being himself. And when like you had that, it was just like the adults in this film that were in these kids' lives. All they knew how to do was tear the kids down. Whereas there was this, it was almost like the water park was a refuge. So I love this film. I thought it was great.
All the movie things.
I don't like the genre, so it works.
Yeah.
Let's go to all the movie things. We're limited on time, so I'm going to try to move us along.
Oh, you want to hear what I have to say? Okay.
I do.
I'm just kidding.
And you're done.
I gotta go. Yeah.
Okay, are you done?
No,
are you done?
I love
no,
this,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I love this movie too. Yeah. Next. Yeah, like along with Mr. Marvelite, there's a lot to love about this movie. Like the water park was this refuge, and there's this contrast to like the adults that were in his life were just like not really there for him and kind of just tearing him down and like weren't really paying attention to him or supporting him. Where the adults at the water park were very just like open and just kind of like all about whatever vibe anyone was given, they were there to accept it. Like the interaction between was it Peter, the kid with the eye patch, and and like Sam Rockwell's character, it was like, no, take that thing off. Let's see what you got going on there. And it's like,
Dude,
why would you
that.
hide that? Like,
right.
it's like that's so cool. Yeah, it's like this island misfit toys. Is what the water park is, and it was giving me like Wet Hot American Summer vibes, but just not as raunchy. There's like some of this like summer camp kind of thing. Yeah, just another. All three of these movies are really, really great to watch, and it's hard to like pit them against each other. But this is another really, really great one. Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, I actually just watched this a few hours ago. I watched it for the first and last time before this, back in, what was it, 2013? And spoiler alert, I guess, but back then I loved this movie. I still think it's really great, but I didn't love it as much as I did before. And the thing that really stuck like with me all throughout these years is actually the exact way it ends, which I think is funny. That you mentioned that you wish you'd gotten a little more, because I actually loved that ending and I loved it yet again this time around. This is a very like male movie, and specifically like the experiences you have as a young boy, like a young tween boy, and the way that his stepdad was like making fun of him versus the way that the other men at the water park were making fun of him. That's something that I grew to appreciate more today when I watched it just now. That contrast, where the difference between like being made fun of while you're sort of the butt of the joke and being made fun of in a like more loving way, that's kind of like a male experience. Yeah, I really liked it. And Allison Janney knocks it out of the park in this movie.
Oh man. Yeah.
Every movie.
Yeah.
In every movie. Yeah. But this one, she has like a 5-minute monologue right at the beginning or something. At the beginning of the movie, she's like running around the entire scene. I was like, I'll watch you read the phone book. You're incredible.
No, totally. And you gotta wonder how much of that is like in the script and how much is she just like improving. Totally. Yeah, she's incredible.
I would just say, drunk neighbor, here's your drink.
Next
go
Tuesday.
off. Yeah, I love that. Black Girl Marvel, what is your take on The Way, Way Back?
This is my second viewing of The Way, Way Back. So I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I love that the moment the film comes on and you see Steve Carell's character just be a dick to this kid, the tone, the tone of this movie. Kind of like what you're going to get into. You just don't know what you're going to see. Like how worse. Like if this is already bad, how worse is it going to get? You know what I mean with this. And so, it's just I remember being awkward. So like I understood the awkwardness of this kid. Again, I love anything that Sam Rockwell's in because he's going to dance, and he did. I love me some Sam Rockwell, but he always seems to play a character that's like, not always, but like normally he plays a character that wants you to see the best in yourself, or pulls people up by their bootstraps type of thing. Maya Rudolph, to me, I don't think she's in enough films. I think she needs to be in like more things. I think she's one of the funniest, most talented versatile actors out there. I would love to see her in more things, but I just enjoyed this film because honestly, it's about accepting yourself and once you accept yourself, people around you have no choice but to accept you. And that took me like up until like my mid-20s to realize that like maybe people feel this way because I'm not
The
secure in myself, and
mid-20s.
I
Wow,
need to work on
that's
that.
ahead of the game to me.
I
It
still
took
don't
me
Is
know.
like
it?
another 10 years. Yeah.
Still not
Oh,
there.
I'm working on
well,
it
I have a
today.
lot of people around me,
Yeah.
so like, I'm kind of an insightful person though.
Yeah.
But so it took me
Good
a
for
while,
you.
and so for what I feel is a while anyway. And so to
Yeah.
see this kid during this summer just be around people that don't make him feel bad and don't judge him and allows him to just
Mhm.
open up and be himself. I felt like that's a good movie for anybody to watch and for anybody to take away that you are okay to not wear that eye patch, regardless of what anybody else
Yeah.
says. You are okay
Yep.
to have as much fun as you possibly can. It's okay if you don't want to go outside today, but go outside tomorrow. Like and it's okay. And it's
Right.
also a message to parents that just because you're lonely doesn't mean you stick with the person that's getting you high
Yeah.
and giving you drinks and doing these things at the expense of your children.
Yep.
Because my mom always says like you know your kids whether they're bad whether they're good, like you know your kids, and your son is acting this way for a specific reason. And because me my like it's a red flag throughout this whole thing, but my red is like the reddest flag for me would have been when he had him wear a life vest and nobody else wore one,
The girl that
and
was
you
his
Mhm.
just
age
told him
also didn't have to, and it wasn't even his
didn't
daughter.
have didn't
Right.
have to wear one. Exactly. And you knew that and like my mom, like you knew that I could swim, so why am I the only one sitting here looking ridiculous? Like you're allowing him to
Mm-hmm.
like because I felt like you knew that she loved her son, but you wanted her to love you more. So you did things to get him out of the way so you could be the focal male in her face. And it's so disrespectful to do something like that. And it's like exactly like Ray would say, he was just picking on him, nitpicking, doing things to
Mhm.
belittle him. Like he wasn't doing anything to strengthen him as a young boy,
Mm-mm.
strengthen him to be a great man. But
Mhm.
you're doing all these things to continue to belittle him so he could disappear. So it's just you and these girls. And I just thought that to see Sam Rockwell's character step in,
I
I
love
love
that.
that
I was
scene when
going
he
to
steps
literally
in.
mention.
He doesn't
He's like, "Oh, you must be Trent,"
he
Yeah.
and
doesn't
then
let
he
him touch him.
physically puts himself
Yeah.
between him and
Yep.
Duncan.
I'm friends with
Love
number
that part.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that the mom finally got to see what she's been missing this entire time. You've been missing your kid this entire time. So yeah, I love obviously you can tell I like the film. So
Okay, agree. I
Sorry to
definitely.
interrupt, but one
So
thing
no, please.
I was gonna say that one thing I really appreciated with the second watch is actually how much you get to well that I got to you didn't all watch it with me and have my same experience, but when I had
I was
I was
there. You
able
just
to
couldn't see me.
you were there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Was that
Somebody's
you? Oh,
watching.
yeah. It was
uh,
surprise.
He's doing the
oh,
Drax camouflage method.
you get to like understand that the mom is dealing with her own insecurity because obviously like her I believe it like her husband stepped out on her um the implication is that Steve Carell's character has more money than she does. I mean, at least anyone who has like a beach house. And she's not really fitting in with those friends who have that kind of money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so she's dealing with that the same way that her son is. And they're both not really
Mm.
dealing with their own insecurities. But
Mhm.
she still wants them to be better. You know what I mean? I really kind of
Mhm.
felt for her more the second watch than I did the first watch, where I was like, step
Oh,
it up.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I
I
like
do, I
that.
do
It's
like it.
interesting. So
Yeah.
So my take on this film, there's a lot of us here, so it's going to be hard to keep track. But my take on this film, this was my pick this week. I really enjoyed this film when I saw it. I think I saw it in 2013, and I felt like it was almost the quintessential pubescent boy story. Like this is the story that if you
Mhm.
grew up
Yep.
even identifying as a male, then you would understand what this kid goes through. There are still a lot of elements, like Lala said, that you could still just flip it, and it's just an awkward teenager at a summer, rental place. Like anybody can understand that to some degree, but the parts I think that resonate the most for me are the Steve Carell character, because I've had a stepmom my whole life, and
Mhm.
I've dealt with that kind of same dynamic where her and I have butted heads our entire lives. The whole board game, like, wouldn't let him just go down the slide because he had to be a stickler for the rules, which there's
Yeah.
something to be said about rules. but at the same time, they were just trying to have a family night with Candyland. It's not
With
like
Candyland.
it's not like you're trying
Oh
to
my
keep track of
goodness.
money or whatever or something.
It's not like life, the game of life. Like
Right.
that's
That's fun
yeah.
though.
There's
Even took the
important
joy
things
out
you
of
have to keep
Candyland.
aspect. But
Yeah,
to speak at Mike's point about the ending, to me, this film feels like summer's ending, and the film ends with that feeling, which it needs to. It has to feel
Yeah.
like you wanted more because you had a great time. And if you don't walk away from this film feeling that, then you didn't ride along with Duncan the whole time. And to me, that's what ends this film so perfectly. And to me, endings are my thing. If a film is okay through the whole thing, but has a great ending, it elevates. If a film is amazing all the way through and it has just this cheeseball ending, I probably won't ever watch it again. So to me, that is one of the quintessential moments. I got to just completely agree with Mike on that. So
I'm with you. I love the idea that like she climbs, like literally the last shot, she climbs across to the car to go to the back with her son.
Yeah.
It almost felt like the opposite of The Graduate, or in every single way.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
mother and son or something, and they're actually happy to be together, and they're looking backward, but they're moving forward. I don't know. I love the entire, and it's stuck with me.
I felt
ever
like
since
she finally chose him. I took that as her finally choosing to, because every time she told him to like come sit next to me or come do something like that, she chose to go with Steve Carell's character. She's like, we'll be right back. Like, you tell me something and then you leave me. And then again, this girl stretched out all the way in the back, in the mid seat, in the middle seat.
In the way back of the car.
Exactly. You got me. You're so goofy. You got me
Wait a
sitting
minute.
all the way in the back. Like,
That's
it
the
doesn't
point of
make
this.
sense.
they didn't say it in the movie. I don't get it.
I feel like when she moved to the back, it was like her finally saying, like, we're in this together. We'll do this together.
Yeah.
Because I think it's disrespectful that little girl got the whole seat to herself. Like, really?
Yeah, but that was
Carell's
Carell's car. Like, that was his car.
I get it, but you're going to put me in it. But the mother allowed it. I'm like, God.
Am I the only one
Yeah.
that wanted the Toni Collette character to just immediately fall in love with Owen and like that's his new dad? And
No,
like,
I did.
I wanted that so bad. I was like, go back and
But I
marry
wanted
him.
but I was.
I mean, yeah, there's like a nugget.
There was a
there,
moment.
Because Owen, because my thing is Owen has his own story, his own growing up that he has to do. And Toni Collette has her own like emotional growing up that she has to do. And I don't need them together. I liked him with the Maya Rudolph character. Because him and Maya Rudolph were like, they seemed like they were like kids that have been together their whole lives, and it's just gonna wait for him to get with his stuff together. Like, the payoff is at the end.
He put the chairs out, man.
Like, that's the payoff.
He put the chairs out.
But they go in a straight line though.
Exactly. Just random. Yeah.
It sure was just that.
Hey, he was up and putting the chairs out for him. It was a win.
And he had a shirt. And he had a shirt on. He was in uniform.
Right?
But sometimes you need. But you need somebody in your life to kick you in the face when you need to do something better. So
they need to make a sequel. They need to do a link letter type sequel where they bring everybody back now that it's been 10 years, and they'll call it From the Front to the Back.
That's a whole different movie. That's a whole different movie.
Yeah, but Owen will be older. We'll bring back. I want to see Rockwell again. He needs to have a beer gut and totally have not gotten his shit together.
I think Lala and I are on the same wavelength right now about that title.
We are. We usually are. We are.
I'm like,
about this movie.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things that I like. I had moments where I was watching this film. First of all, I grew up and I'm sitting there like, so this is what rich white people do. They go to a beach house for an entire summer and do this kind of stuff. Like,
drink.
I remember like we would take like, weekends off and go like to like amusement park nearby. That's vacations. So like to think that they had this whole other life, and I'm like, how are they making money? How can they afford rent and owning this house and all of these things?
Because he owned his other house. He wasn't renting anything.
And then when you see Duncan in the way back, I'm like, okay, I can relate. So I grew up in a single parent home. My mom, that's a whole movie in itself. But I don't like that genre either. So we there was this time where this guy was dating my mom, and like we would go do things, and he would try to get those moments away from me. But my mom was very different than Toni Collette's character in this film, where it was like, no, he's a package deal. He comes with this, and don't you dare tell my son what to do. and it was one of those things where we had I'll never forget, we were actually on a vacation where we went to go to this guy's parents' house, and he's like trying to like get me like put off in different places. My mom's like, no, this is my kid, I will decide for him what we need to do. And I remember like this guy fought with me over, we wanted to go out on a lake, and I wanted to go do a canoe, and he wanted to do paddle boats. And I was a skinny kid, believe it or not. And I used to pass out on paddle boats, and I refused. And it was a big argument. And that was kind of the end of them like really doing things together after that. Like he was still a friend, but it was never at the rate of seriousness. And it's like, it was so important for Duncan's character to actually have someone, in his corner, and he wasn't getting that from mom, and she was willing to compromise everything for herself.
Everything, yes.
And so I could feel for him. I'm like, I can't relate because I didn't have that, but I could imagine like being, the odd person out and not even being out, gone for the whole summer, all of those days, and her never sitting down saying, honey, what's going on?
Yeah.
How long do you just let your kid just disappear all day, every day?
No, totally. Yeah. Like he had this whole other life that she had no idea about.
Because she was day
disconnected
drunk
But then
and
get
smoking pot.
mad at
Like,
him.
I mean,
yeah.
when you're day drunk, you don't think about where your kids are.
But then get mad at him when he's out living his life. Like you get mad, like you don't stay out all night. They come in all morning. He was like, but you do that? Like, that's what you do.
Well, you'd think she would think to pay attention to him when Prince going to get marshmallows.
If you allow me to connect very loose threads here, it's funny how all these movies really the main character sort of finds themselves in a stranger, or like in a with Simon and Abby, and Edge of 17 with Erwin and his friend group, and this one where he has this entire double life with these strangers who help like all of them build their confidence or build their own life outside of their own family. I think that's really unique to being a teenager, because you feel like when you're with your family, like you're not really your own person. You can finally step out and become like the adult you think you are,
Isn't it ironic though that you end up in your 20s, you end up coming back going, my family's my rock, it's where I come from. So there's an irony to that, although some of us don't have that, but the rest of you normal people do. Which is good.
But you need that. That's why some people go to college, so they can get away and figure out who they are. And
which sometimes
themselves and then come home and get fixed back up.
It's everybody goes through Romspringer, just not not the Amish version. Essentially. So I just watched Sex Drive, which they have a whole shtick on Romspringer. I love that movie.
That movie.
We're gonna have to do bad brunchy comedies for a whole show one night, but we'll figure that out. So we did just have a request for a movie that All the Movie Things has not seen, and that movie is Drop Dead Gorgeous. So we will be viewing Drop Dead Gorgeous next week, which is a 1998 comedy starring Denise Richards and Kirsten Dunst, Kirstie Alley, and even Amy Adams is in that film. So you should be happy, All the Movie Things, with that, because I know you love her. That being said, let's go ahead and rate this film, and then we are going to go to the end of the show where we'll do our obligatory raid. I've already picked the person we're going to raid, who is a friend of the channel and somebody we love, Smash Brothers. He's been on this
I'll be like, Betsy, what's happening? What do you mean?
Wow. Yeah. It's a Twitch love.
Twitch with benefits.
It's a Twitch with That being said, let's go ahead and rate this film. Let's start with all the movie things, since I almost forgot him last time.
All right, I'm gonna give this one an 8.5 also. And again, the 12-year-old me probably wouldn't have watched this one, but yeah, I have to give it up to the actor that played Duncan. He like nailed the awkwardness for me. Like I felt like like the interaction he had, that first interaction with that young girl. I was like, this is get out of there, come on, this is not going anywhere. It was really bad. But if you can do that and make me feel like embarrassed for you, that's pretty excellent. So 8.5 for me.
I like it. Lala.
I give this movie a solid 9. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's rewatchable. I like seeing Steve Carell not be comedic. I like seeing him be a little more serious, and he plays a dickhead very well. 12-year-old me would have been like, it's a boy movie, but I think I would have still gotten some of the
It's a boy.
I would have gotten some of the
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
I think
Cooties,
as a
yeah.
12-year-old,
yeah.
exactly. Like I would have got some of the things, especially with like how my life changed within those like with by the time I was 12, my life changed like very drastically. So I think I would have gotten some things, and 12-year-old me would have probably rated this probably rated a 7, and then as I got older, would have turned to a 9, like I am now. So yeah,
One of those slow raises, right? Just slowly going up.
yeah, slow raises, yeah.
Right. I'm with you, Mr. Marvelite.
You know, as you may all may know, I'm not even gonna say it, but um, at this
Shot.
point, it's out there.
Take a shot, everybody.
Well, you know,
But
it's funny because the actress who plays Susanna, Anna Sophia Robb, for like the first part of the film, I was like trying to figure out where am I placing her, and I
Yeah.
realized I was just looking up an IMDb because you know that's how we all survive the show sometimes. Um, and she played in Bridge to Terabithia, and I'm like, oh, that's where it was.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes perfect. You know, of course she'd be that interesting, and of course that was an easy connect for me. But Duncan was played extremely well. I was almost too believable. I'm like, how did this guy even get casted for this? Because he would just
Right.
seem like the guy that was like in the audition just would have been too awkward to even get out of his seat. Sam Rockwell, love the dynamic with him. Love seeing him have to grow up a little bit. It was definitely not like a. I almost thought it was going to be like a cheesy like recruitment type thing in the at that where he was having lunch when we were playing Pac-Man, where it was kind of like, oh, I've seen you around, yeah, aren't you the kid in the back, the way back of the station wagon? And it didn't happen. It was just like, hey, do this, cut your own path. And I like how that was kind of a theme for Duncan. Make your own path, don't follow patterns, and that it kind of worked. Even the side characters, the one guy, I can't remember what his name is. They were giving him the goodbye party. Um, like, yeah, Lewis,
Oh,
like he
Lewis.
just he hates the place, but obviously he loves the place because he's never gonna leave. And you could see like,
Jim Rash. He's one of the writers.
yeah, and he just it was just a great like dynamic with them as well. I'm gonna give it a 9. I thought it was a great film.
All right.
I thought it's definitely something that I would definitely want to watch again. And this would have been a film that as a 12-year-old, I think if you would have like marketed it with Sam Rockwell, because I loved him and stuff even back when I was younger. I would have definitely watched it again. I would have probably given it a 9 as well. It just kind of worked. It worked for me because it was kind of one of those things where I could have related. I was that kind of that awkward guy.
This is
And
one of the reasons I
yeah.
suggested the movie, Mr. Marvelite, because I know that we
It
talked about
sounds
how you
like
didn't like this genre, but I
Yeah.
was like, you
Sounds
will
like you
to
like
some
this
degree.
genre.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. Every
When I-
movie
when
you
I-
gave a better rating. It was 8, 8.5, and this is a 9. Like,
Yeah.
you kept getting better.
Like,
Yeah,
all these
okay,
ratings, like-
y'all can shut up about it now. I kind of like the genre now. No, it's funny though because like I trusted you with the way back because when you said if you'll be more nostalgic, which I guess you obviously assumed I was this awkward guy as a
I
teenager.
think we all were
Thank
at
you
some
for
point,
that.
sooner
Thank
or
you
later.
for that. I might not be here next week as well. But honestly, like no, it was one of those things where I could definitely relate. Like I had moments like that. For me, it wasn't a water park. It was a swimming pool. My mom ran an apartment building, for most of my life, and there was a pool there, and I spent all of my time with the lifeguards, and the lifeguards made me feel more confident about myself. I had strengths in swimming and everything else because of that. In fact, that gave me, the confidence that I needed in school to do different things. And of course, when you think of middle school, you think of like going to the pool and having to do like the swim classes and stuff.
Is this story based off of you?
Yeah,
Then?
I
I
feel
was
like
going to say,
yeah.
did I get this one on
Yeah.
the nose? Because that's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you did.
Snippets
This is
was there,
about
and he had.
Mr. Marmalade.
I'm so glad they fixed Snippet's lazy eye.
Yeah.
I
Is
can't
your
do
middle
it.
name
I can't do
Duncan?
it. That being said,
One-eyed Pete. Oh my goodness.
Mike, we need to hear your rating and then mine, and then we do have to get going.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. An 8, I think. I loved it a lot more when I saw it the first time, I think, because I was closer in age. And if my 12-year-old self had seen it, he would have seen it. I think he would have rated it an 11. I think he would have like carved a special room in his heart, and he would have placed it in there and would have cherished it forever. It really would have spoken to him a lot
Nice.
as a 12-year-old.
I
Wow.
like it. See, I was going to say something similar. Mike
love
just kind of
that.
stole my my review. I give it a 9. I'm going to take it to a 10 because this is rewatchable, and I think everybody should see this film. And I think I relate to it more than the other films to some degree. There was something relatable on all levels, but this is a film I do tend to suggest to people because of Sam Rockwell specifically. But everybody does bring it, and I didn't get to mention this earlier. Did anybody else want to tackle Steve Carell when he went after Duncan, like physically went after him?
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry.
I would have punched his face when he called him a
Was
3.
like,
Let's face
seriously?
it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got pretty like, oh, what are you doing, man? Like, who isn't going to jump in there
Would
and
you
be like,
about
what are
to
you
attack
doing,
a
dude? He's a
child?
kid.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, there you go. Mike, thank you for being a guest tonight. It has been a blast. You got
Thanks,
some
Mike.
great
Thank you,
insight.
Mike.
So
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate
I
it.
look
He's
forward
so
to your TikTok
excited.
all the time, every day.
He's like,
Thank you for the
Thank you,
recommendation
Mike.
for the
Is
movie.
it- Relax. No, thank you for having me. This has been fantastic.
Yep, and you are welcome to
teen-
come back. We'll figure it out if you want to. So just let us know, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. As long as it's not a coming of age drama, I hate those. Absolutely
Dude, I
not my
know.
favorite genre.
Never again.
Kendrick Hart.
Ray Wu says, shout out to Mike. We do already have 2 movies picked for next week, so let's get those out of the way real quick. We are going to be watching, like I said, Drop Dead Gorgeous with the cast I previously mentioned. And then Black Girl Marvel just redeemed Mr. Right, which has Anna Kendrick and Sam Rockwell.
Oh.
I have not seen that movie yet, so I'm excited. I've been wanting to watch it. So
okay. I've been
it's-
curious about that one.
it's
too.
good when we have movies that everybody
I
has
watch
seen.
it
So
all the
Are you
time.
serious?
that's
Oh,
awesome.
geez.
It's awesome.
Wonder
I'm
what your
so
score is
obsessed
gonna
with
be.
it. I love it so much.
Man.
So we'll have to figure out the other movie
Hold
for
on a
next
second.
week, but it's going to need to be some kind of
15.
comedy so that it matches the.
Hold on.
the
Hold
fit.
on. Here you
Oh,
go.
Maybe Miss
Mr. Marveleite's
Congeniality.
going.
Oh, it's at a
Uh-oh.
no. They didn't let me redeem it.
Oh,
No,
weird.
because I did it. It's a thing.
Oh,
where you gotta
yeah.
do it.
Ah.
They
No,
only
I
let you
changed
do it
all of
once,
that.
yeah.
It makes no sense. I spent the whole week fixing that, and it didn't work.
Write it.
Stream
Write it.
Element
Write
sucks.
it in, Mr. Marvelite. Write it in.
Yeah, just write it in, and I'll count it.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'll just say it on here. I mean, y'all can see. You can actually hear my voice.
I can't hear you. Yes, I can
No,
hear
but
you.
write it.
8-Bit Christmas.
8-Bit Christmas. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
So
on-
3
Oh, yeah.
comedies.
I
HBO
just
Max.
watched that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're going
Neil
into
Patrick
Christmas,
Harris.
so
Yeah.
that
Okay,
works.
sweet.
All right, so we've got our
I
3
love that
movies for
movie.
next week. Please stay tuned and check us out next week. We will have another guest to be announced. Still trying to work some things out, but we will have that in place. I believe one of them will be Professor J. Kev Parker. At some point, we should have him on the show, which should be fun. And with that said, we're going to start the raid. So thank you for stopping by The Real Study. And this has been The Real Study panel. Good night, everybody.
And be sure to check out Black Girl Marvel when she goes live on TikTok not too soon from now.
And follow everybody on this panel on TikTok if you don't already. But I have a feeling a lot of our chatters do.
Right. We all
Oh.
follow.
We all
Everyone.
follow everybody. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to click this raid.
Thanks again, Mike. Love you, man.
No, that it
Have a
did
great
work.
night.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you
for
very
joining
much, Mike.
us.
So like we're
Thank you,
still
thank
live.
you.
We're here, but we're raiding.
Thanks for your
It's
insight.
a Twitch
We had
thing.
a lot of good insights on stuff.
Thank you.
Alright.
You guys